everything in my life, all the structure had been completely ripped out underneath me. And so that was the hardest. And I woke up every day and I just thought, am I really going to carry on here? Like, is this really what I want to do? Do I want to work on my own?
Hey everyone, it's Carly Myers here and I'm the host of Made for More podcast, and I'm so excited to be bringing you this episode. So this week I had the privilege of interviewing the incredible Scarlett Williams. Now Scarlett is actually an ex-professional athlete, but she is also the co-founder of an amazing company called Freerider. Now, I fell in love with this company when I first became a mum. I fell in love with their baby carriers because they're made out of beautiful, sustainable fabric and they had so much style about them. And what I found when I first became a mum was that so many kind of mum brands or baby brands were just so bland, and I just felt so mumsy and drab as soon as I put any of them on. So I loved these straight away. They still allowed me to be me and, you know, keep my style and everything like that. And I just love what the company's all about. They've now branched out into other areas, but the main thing is that they focus on the parents. So they focus on the mum and the dad feeling and looking amazing, and it's not just about the baby. So in this interview, I asked Scarlett all things about going from sports into business, but I also pick her brains about how you actually get a product from being an idea to actually becoming a business and taking it to market, and all the kind of things in between about creating that product. So she gives so much value, so much advice. And I know you're going to be totally obsessed with this episode just like I am. So if you enjoy it, please take a screenshot, make sure you leave us a review and let us know on social media what you loved. And also share this with anyone else that you think would find this valuable. You know, if you know anyone that's looking to create a product or has an idea and really has no idea how to go about it, then make sure you share this with them. I really can't wait to hear what you think. Enjoy! Thank you so much for getting on my podcast. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. So Scarlett and I actually met 8 months ago now, and I know it was 8 months ago because my little boy is 8 months, and we actually met at the baby show in Hammersmith in London. And I went along when my little boy was 2 weeks. I mean, now I'm like, why did I go when I was 2 weeks? Literally still, you know, in a bad way. But I know why I went, because whenever I get start something new, I get obsessive about it. And then I'm like, I need to know everything. And I was like, I need to know all the baby products. I need to know everything that's going on. So literally packed up, carted my little boy to London, went to the baby show. And then I found you, and I was attracted to your amazing baby wraps straight away. I'd wanted one for ages because I wanted to go on a dog walk. Saw your stand, and then we just clicked straight away, didn't we? I just like...
Yeah, well, first of all, you came out with a 2-week-old, and I was like mind blown. I was like, okay, first of all, how are you doing this? This is amazing. And second of all, you just had so much energy, and all I hear about is first few weeks is just, you know, how sleep deprived get you. And you were a bit of a miracle, and I wanted to know how you'd done that.
I was just high on life. Honestly, motherhood is just the greatest thing ever to happen. But yeah, we clicked straight away, didn't we? And then we went for coffee a few months ago, literally just before lockdown happened. And we just sat with your other friend as well, who I also want to interview on this podcast. But we just sat for hours, didn't we? Literally cleaned out the coffee shop of all of their snacks. Literally, I was like, okay, we can have another round of snacks. Ate all the snacks and just chatted business and life and everything for hours and hours. And I loved it. And it actually gave me a real big inspiration for this podcast, because I thought there must be so many other people sat around like us that are just like chewing the fat about business and just want to know all the ins and outs and all the nitty gritty. So yeah, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast, because you're my vibe. You're my kind of
my energy. Just love all the nitty gritty stuff.
Totally.
Yeah, I think that's why our conversation just took off as it did, because we really want to know how to do things. And I think that's the difference, isn't it? Like, I don't want to talk about the fluffy stuff. I'm like, how did you do that? And but if that happened, what exactly was it that you changed? And so that's the kind of conversations we're interested in. I guess that's why we connect.
Totally. So I'm going to crack on, because I'm going to pick your brains. I've got lots to ask you. So first of all, yeah, you will. Of course you will. So I'd love to know a bit of your background. So before Freerider started, you had a really colourful, you know, life before all that even started, didn't you? So tell me about how all of that looked.
Yeah, so as a kid, I was a very keen netballer. And so from a young age, I played like national netball from kind of under 17s England netball to under 21s, and then came into the senior program with intensive netball training sessions. And then I carried on with that program a year after I stopped university. So I was full-time in the program, and I also worked at Lucozade during that time. So I took a year with full-time netball and working, which is a really interesting experience. So training 3 times a day pretty much, and a full-time job on top of that. Lucozade were brilliant. They were really flexible. They're obviously a sports company anyway, so they do have a basic understanding of what that might include, but learn like a ton of stuff at Lucozade in terms of how to approach sales situations, how to kind of get through cold calling people, and not only cold calling people, but actually going into stores when they're not expecting you, which is like, yeah, if you've ever been scared of doing something, that's a good way to break through the mold with that one. So that I learned like to be a bit more bolshy in sales, and I got a lot of confidence in my ability to sell. And I think that was really important through what I'm learning now as well. So yeah, so my youth was just inspired by elite sport, really.
So I mean, I know how dancing has impacted me in business in terms of mindset. And I know so many times sports and business go hand in hand so well, don't they? So how do you think being so into your sports affected you in business? How do you think that helped you?
I just think like my nature is very competitive anyway. So I have a competitive side to me that is just like, how can I improve? How can I be better? And I'm always asking myself those questions. There's a lot of crossover. So like in terms of consistency and turning up every day and making sure you're motivated, and like my motivation levels don't really change. And I think that's because of my sports background. If you didn't turn up on the day, you were never going to get better. And it's the same thing with business. If you don't get up every day, work your hardest, make sure that you put in a shift in terms of like learning something new or developing on something that you've been doing well already, you're never going to get better. And it's not about making huge changes. It's about being consistent. It's about making 1% changes to be that 1% better. And there's just so much crossover with sport. Determination, like I said, competitive edge, but mainly consistency and drive. So yeah, that's all crossover. I think in terms of like your day-to-day business, they're very different, because sport is you're outside all the with netball you're with people all the time, inside a sports hall training with a team. When you first start a business, it's very different. Like I was on my own for a year, and that was the complete opposite to what I was used to. So to going for like I'm very sociable, high energy, and then coming into an environment where I was on my own for a year, I was sitting down, which I was so not used to, and then not having anyone to kind of ask anything to, like, hey, do you like this color? What do you think of these leggings? What do you think of anything? That's a big change. So that whilst there are some huge comparisons in terms of your motivation and what drives you and your targets and your goals, there's also a big difference in terms of like running an e-commerce store with being sat down and being static, and for the start of it being on your own. So yeah,
totally. That whole team thing, I mean, like learning to raise your own energy, I think is such a key skill in business, because like regardless of how passionate you are about any business, no one wakes up every day like, yes, oh my God, I'm ready and raring. Like you have to figure out how to pick up your own energy. And I always feel really strongly about that. Like you're probably the same. Like I'm a big energy, and I know that when I'm around people, I make people feel better. You know what I mean? I'm really positive, and we become like the people we spend time with. And sometimes I feel like some people come to me for me to lift them up, and then they just go, and I'm like a little bit drained. And I just think like everyone should take responsibility for their own energy. You know what I mean? I think as soon as you can figure out how to lift up your own energy and motivate yourself, that's so important. I think is such a key thing. You can do anything. Once you can pick yourself out of any energy state, you can absolutely do anything. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I think it comes in different forms for different people. For me, it's sport, but I'm sure for other people, there's different ways that they can pick their brains as to how they actually feel that energy and that buzz. And I think it's different, but I think coming to terms with what that is for you is really important.
Yeah, totally. So you now run an incredible baby wrap company. You need to see these. If you haven't seen them, they're absolutely amazing. But you don't have a baby. So how did that all come about? Did you always know that you were going to start a business, and you were like, you know, looking for a business, or did it kind of just organically happen and now you're like, check me out with a business?
I think my parents are business owners. So my dad's in construction and he's always had his own business, and my mum's a hairdresser. She's always had her own salon. So I think when I was younger, that whether I realized it or not, that environment was around me. And I grew up with two parents that had their own business. And I guess as a kid, I just thought, hey, that's what everyone does. They kind of start their own thing. And you don't really know much different when you're a kid. So I think that definitely I grew up with. Did I know I wanted to run my own business? Probably not, because I was so focused on being an elite netball player, and really every energy and every thought I had was about netball. It's actually quite funny now. I'm a bit like you, Carly, where when I want to do something, my mind is on that thing, and there's very little that takes my mind away from it. So I would say up until about the age of 18, I was just netball. And then when I went to university, I had to study something that was out. I was like, okay, well, I'm playing netball at university, but what am I going to study? Because school had always been really important to me. My older brother is about 6 years older than me, and he's very academic. My younger brother is very academic. I'm not naturally academic. I don't think any of us actually were as siblings. We weren't like naturally academic, but we just worked really hard. So the consistent theme across my life is nothing's come easy to me. I'm not probably natural at anything, but my work ethic is always there, and that's how I've got to where I am in everything. I've never been naturally like talented any area. I don't think it's been the working hours that I've put in. So yeah, I would say now looking back on my life, yes, it makes sense that I probably run my own business. Did I know that beforehand? Not really. I didn't do anything that was like lemonade stands on the side of the road, or all that wonderful things you hear other people talking about. But yeah, and then how it came to be a baby company was my cousin and my stepsister at the same time kind of had young children, and me and Fraser, my partner, we used to look after them a lot, and we used to go on walks and do lots of things with them. And we just kind of found that a carrier was something in our lives that was missing, and we purchased one and it wasn't quite right. And we just had the experience of not having a great experience with any carriers, especially being active and wanting to go walking. It was a really big and important thing for us. And we were kind of at the same stage where we wanted something to do outside of sport, and we had a career, like I had a career, he was full-time rowing, but we both felt like we could start something. And it was just kind of at the same time that intertwined. His parents actually also lived in Kenya at the time, and we went out there on holiday, and we saw all these amazing colours in carriers. Like the wrap carriers is kind of where that all came from, and it's just they just carry them in so many different ways, and these colours of these wraps were just incredible. And I just thought, why doesn't that exist in the UK, or why doesn't that exist anywhere in Europe, that I can get like a carrier that suits my style, that's a little bit out there, that also is for me as well as my child? And yeah, there wasn't anything, so we kind of thought, right, let's see if we can do it. That's kind of how it all started.
Oh, I can see the influence as well, because the patterns of all of your carriers are so nice. I really think that's where it stands out so much, because like so many like maternity clothes and everything, they are drab. They're so drab. I was looking at it and I was like, this is not the one. But yeah, when I saw your carriers, I was like, I am going to look fly. That is a great Instagram picture that I can
yeah, exactly.
That out. But no, I love it. So you obviously, I think every job we do leading up to the point in which we start a business, we learn different skills at different points, don't we? Even random jobs, when I've been like waitressing somewhere, I can look back now and think, oh, I learned that skill there, and that's helped me in this sense. So you had a great career before this, actually, and you were in product development, weren't you?
Yeah, yes.
How did that help your business?
Yeah, so I started off at Luke Stadium sales, like I was saying a bit before, and then I decided that the corporate ladder wasn't really for me, just in the sense of sales wasn't my area, and I'm someone who needs purpose in what I'm doing, and I couldn't really find that in a sports drink, really. So I was like, okay, what else can I do? I want to learn. So then it naturally shifted into, can I join a startup of an area that I'm interested in, which is sport? And so I joined a company called Zone 3, and at the time there was probably about 5 of us roughly, and so I joined as the product development like lead, but in a team of 5, that means many things, because no one in a team of 5 does one thing, and that's really important as you grow through a business and you're starting out in the early stages. Like if there's 5 people in a team, you're going to be doing absolutely everything, and you have to just get stuck in. You have to be okay with doing a bit of everything, believe in the vision of the brand, want to learn from people above you, and just do your best. And so I got stuck in with that company, and I really enjoyed my time there. I was there for about a year. And I just learned everything from how to source things, how to source sustainable fabrics, how to source sports fabrics, how to get the best in each part of the product. Like, yeah, I learned loads there, and I did sourcing on top of that. I did all the shipping, imports, duty, VATs, tax, spoke to all the shipping companies. That was my role as well. I managed like every part of the production process in terms of like ordering tags, getting the labels made, getting all the fabrics, and moving them all around. So I just saw how that whole process worked, and I thought something that actually seems so alien to me that I would never have been able to guess how you would have ever done something like that actually became really familiar. And I thought, hey, like, I now know how to source things from abroad or source things in the UK and bring them back to the UK. I know how to import them. I know how to calculate the tax. I know how to calculate the duty. I know how to get things made. Like, it just opens up another world for you, the world that you never thought about, a world that you didn't really understand completely. And then you're like, hey, like, this is possible. You can do this. And now I know how. So yeah, that experience was invaluable. I also, during my time at university, did a placement year, and I worked for Fila and Wilson and Umbro in Canada. And like any internship, they kind of say, you know, oh, you can, there's a lot of tea making and a lot of, like, I was working in customer service, and I thought, hey, like, this isn't actually what I came to do. And rather than expect someone to hand this to me on a gold plate, I'm going to be like, right, I'm new, I'm young, I'm only like 20. No one's going to mind if I go up to them and ask them what they're doing. So I thought, what area am I most interested in this company that I want to learn the most? And I became really good friends with the guys that design the footwear. So I didn't know how to use Adobe Illustrator. I didn't know how to use Photoshop. I didn't know how to use any creative design, any kind of program really. I just went in with my laptop and I was like, hey, like, my name's Scarlett. I think they would laugh because my accent was English and they were all Canadians, so they were probably like that. And then I was like, hey, I don't know how you guys do this. Can I just sit with you? I promise I won't be a bother. I'm not gonna bother you all, but can I sit with you and learn what you're doing? Can you send me a file that you're working on and I just want to pick it apart? And they were like, yeah, of course, like, that's not a problem at all. And they sent me over their software. I got licenses for the softwares. I basically used that year to sit down, and I went through every single Adobe tutorial I could online. And I taught myself Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, every kind of Adobe software that you can think of. I took that year and I ran with it and learned everything. And they were just incredible and so open to teaching me, which was just, that was the first dip into design that I ever got. And then obviously I followed that up at Zone 3. But yeah, so I think with that, you just take experiences that get given to you and just try and make the most of them.
I love that. I just love that you're so, like, I imagine you like this little English borrower in Canada, like, excuse me, can I ask you a question, please? Excuse me. I'm like that as well. I just want to know everything.
And I just think if you're in somewhere that you admire, if you're in a company that you've admired, or from afar, or whatever it be that you've known for a while, there's always value to take from that. And it's really no one's going to do it for you. And that's, I think, what the biggest lesson I learned from that internship was. I arrived, it was nothing like I thought it was going to be. I was stuck in the customer service team, and I just thought, this isn't what I want to do. No one is going to hand me the experience that I want apart from myself. I have to reach out to people. I have to say, like, hey, like, can I sit with you for an hour? Like, just give me an hour of your time. And anyone will do that. Like, even if it's not an hour, maybe 10 minutes, maybe it's a lunch break, and you're like, tell me how you do this. There is value in anything like that. So I'd encourage anyone who's in that situation or will be in that situation to just take it for what it is and go and ask people and explore and make sure you leave knowing that you've got what you wanted out of it.
Yeah, totally. So what would your advice be for someone? So basically, a couple of years ago, I did a fitness competition. And then as my mind wanders, suddenly I'm like, how can I make a business out of this? So I was like, I'm going to make a fitness range. And I started looking at how to create my own fitness line. And the only thing I knew how to do was to go onto Alibaba.
Yeah, like a lot of people.
Yeah. And that is about as far as my product sourcing knowledge goes. So if someone is listening to this and they're like, yeah, I want to create a product range, but they haven't done the years that you did in your previous experience, how does someone even go about doing that?
Yeah, like, that's a really good question. Look, Alibaba is the source of many dropshipping companies, and the source of, like, actually quite big companies started from Alibaba. I don't Luxy Hair. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and he was like, hey, I messaged 5 companies on Alibaba, and it just turns out the first one who got back to me and sent me a sample, it was just like incredible. So I definitely don't think those companies can be really good. It depends when you're looking for a specific product and exactly, like for us, sustainability has always been something that we've held as one of our top values. You aren't necessarily going to find that on Alibaba because the materials that you need are so niche, and it's very hard to find sustainable materials that you're able to order in small quantities. And that takes a different kind of research. And what I would say to people is like, there's loads of trade shows out there that these big companies go to, these big fabric houses that do all these specialized materials, that do every kind of material, not even specialized, general materials to really specific ones. And they all have big trade shows, and you can find them in Europe. They'll have one in each continent. They'll have one in China, but they'll also have one in France or Germany or somewhere like that. So if you find the area you like, you find the trade show. So like specifically for sport, there's one in Germany called ISPO or ISPO that does all the sports fabrics. There'll be different ones for each industry, and they're really like, Google is your best friend at that point. Like, you can find the trade shows. I've been to so many. The first trade show I went to was in France. I've been to one in Germany. I've been all over Europe with trade shows. There's some in London as well. Like, you don't even have to travel like to a different country. You can go to London as well. So that's actually one of the main ways that I find the people that we work with. I do a lot of research before I go anywhere though, and I think that's probably what I would do first. I'd get online, I'd find out what you have to know, what it is about your product that you need to be specific. And for us, it was sustainability. So I knew the fibers and the threads and the fabrics that I wanted to work with were really specific. So find the niche that you're targeting, or find that one thing about your product that's going to be really different. And then just, go to a few trade shows, start talking to people at the trade shows. The trade shows are very overwhelming, by the way. You'll go in, and if it's a fabric trade show specifically, there's just hangers upon hangers of fabric, like just fabric hanging up. And I was so intimidated on the first ones I went to. I kind of just walked around the show and didn't want to go into any booths. And I thought, oh my God, I'm way too small to be talking to anyone here. But you grow with confidence. And after a few, you go and you sit down. And I just encourage you to just go and sit down and talk with someone, because the value you get out of companies there, they know so much about what they're doing. And even 10-minute conversations sitting down with them, they're super keen to talk to you as well. Like, they're an expedition. Like, all you do at expeditions is you want to talk to people, you want to tell them about your products. So they're really keen to sit down and share their learnings with you. So do that, sit down with them, learn what you can. Yeah, that's a really good way to do it.
That's such good advice. I wouldn't even have ever thought of that, actually. So that's amazing. Thank you for that. So you sound like you were mega prepared. Like, you sound like going into business, you had it all mapped out, you had your fabric, you're all good, you've done your research, good to go. So, obviously anyone would expect that it's all just going to be plain sailing. I imagine it's not. Business is never a linear journey, is it? It's always up and down. So was there any like curveballs that hit you and you're like, oh, I was not expecting this?
Yeah, every day. It still happens to me every day. I'd say the major ones are like, I guess the first initial ones, we started with a really small order. First of all, we definitely didn't have everything sorted out. I feel like we had nothing sorted out. The one thing I knew a lot about was the fabrics. I knew about the prints, I knew how to get it printed, but like everything else was just an absolute minefield for me. And first of all, like, unit pricing and how much things cost. I knew a bit about that from Zone 3, but I was dealing with very different products. And so that's a challenge. And you have to do your sourcing around to find the right price. And you have to understand what you want to RRP the product for, so that you can make sure your raw materials are going to fit into that price. Or are you going to say, right, I don't care what cost my raw materials are, I'm just going to price it at whatever this comes out as. That they were hard lessons, because first of all, we sourced some fabrics that were really expensive, and then we realized that we didn't want the RRP to be that expensive, and then we ended up with basically a break-even cost, and that was painful for a year. We weren't making any money. We worked for free anyway. Well, we did. And so that was a painful lesson, to kind of like not be so clued up on how much you mark products up by, or how much you can mark products up by, and like how much your raw material cost should be versus your RRP price. That was painful. And then there was one specific shipment where we bought everything in. At the time we were dealing with, I think it was Turkey, and we bought in the wraps from Turkey, and we just hadn't worked out all the pricing properly for the VAT and the duty and stuff. So we ended up with it, basically a huge bill that we weren't expecting. Like, we'd forecasted it to be about £1,000 less expensive than it actually worked out being. £1,000 doesn't sound a lot, but like, when you're dealing with, our first order was like £5,000, like all in, everything, like our website, everything was £5,000 because it's all we had. to then have like, oh, an extra £1,000 on top of that was like, how are we going to get this money? Like, me and Fraser didn't have a lot of money at the time. We're like, how are we gonna do this? We just ended up going into our overdrafts and being like, right, we're never making this mistake again. The mistake was made, I think, because we basically got a unit cost initially, worked out all the pricing, and then it changed. I think it was actually the currency had changed like between the times that we worked it out. So the currency conversion was actually slightly higher, which caused like a big difference in price. We didn't think to work out the currency stuff. And so yeah, lesson learned, but that was a big curveball for us to learn. You have to be on top of your costing. And if you are going to get a really sharp wake up call. So yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest one.
Because I guess, like, you know, when you're looking at individual units or whatever, you're like, you know, a penny here or 10p there, it doesn't make a big difference. But then when you're looking on a big scale, it makes a massive difference. And I've so been there before when something's come along and it's just rinsed out your cash flow and you're like, oh my God. So yeah. Literally living on beans yourself and you're like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. And that's painful because you don't have a lot of extra cash anyway, and then you've given all the extra cash to the business, and then you're struggling in your own life because you've just plowed all the money into the business, and you're like, not paying myself, like I have a full-time job on the side, and like it's very stressful. Then you go out with your friends and you're like, oh my God, I've only got like £25 to spend here. It's really difficult. It takes a big toll on your lifestyle as well.
Yeah, totally. Especially when they're like, you're a business owner, you can get this.
You're like, you have no idea. It's really expensive.
So obviously, like we know how tough it is sometimes. And I think like being successful in business is about holding your nerve. You know, like it's just about holding your nerve and being like, come on, I've just got to get through this, got to get through this. Was there ever a moment where you were like, no, I can't do this anymore. I just need to pack this in. This is not the one.
Yeah, a lot, to be honest, in the first couple of years, because I was head of network school. I was still playing Super League netball. So that was like training 5 times a week. And then my own training, so kind of 6 times a week, 1 day off. And then I was also trying to run a business. And I just got really ill. I got pneumonia for 6 weeks, really, really badly. And I'm really quite fit and healthy, and I don't take days off. If I've got a cold, I'll like get through it. I'll be like, right, okay, you know, take my vitamin D and I'll be fine. But this absolutely knocked me out. And I, for 6 weeks, was on my sofa. I couldn't move. And I just realized like how dangerous it is to overwork yourself and to not realize the damage that you can do to your body, like physically, like physical damage that you can do when you try to I was just trying to do everything, and I was trying to do everything to the best of my capability. So I was probably lacking sleep. I was trying to, you know, do hours I shouldn't have done. I was trying to be the best netball coach, the best athlete, and also the best business person. And it got too much for me, and my body was just like, nope, not anymore. And I had a really good conversation with the doctor, and he was just like, look, you need to figure out what your focus is, and you need to calm the other areas down. Otherwise, this is not going to continue. You're going to keep getting sick, and you know your body's going to keep telling you it's not okay anymore. So that was a big wake up call for me, and that was the big decider when I was like, what do I do? I'm 26. I've had a great time with my netball. It's not something that I'm going to be pursuing past, you know, a couple of years. Like, I love my friends. I'll probably always play for fun. But the real elite stage of that I felt was over. And then I thought, I'm not going to be a head of netball for all my life, because I know I want to do something else. I have to make a decision for myself, and I want to run a business. And that's the conclusion I came to. I thought, right, I'm going to stop everything else. I'm going to quit my job at the end of this year. I'm going to stop playing netball for a while, just take a year out, and I'm going to focus completely on my business. And although that sounds like the brave decision to do, it was incredibly hard. And that first year of running a business was the hardest, like full time. So last year, the year before last, it was, the hardest thing I've done, because I went from being so busy to having empty days with no schedule, no structure, no people. And I was like, I kind of got to the point where I was like, what's my exercise goal? Like, I'd lived for exercise. I didn't have an exercise goal. Everything in my life, all the structure had been completely ripped out underneath me. And so that was the hardest. And I woke up every day and I just thought, am I really going to carry on here? Like, is this really what I want to do? Do I want to work on my own? And I got in quite a negative headspace with it for a while, until one day I woke up and I just thought, right, if I'm going to do this, I need to change my attitude. I need to get up early. I need to go to the gym. I need to come back. I need to start my day. I need to figure out what it is in my day that is going to make this company grow, and I'm only going to do those things. And that's all I'm going to do. And then if after a year has gone past and this company has not grown, then I can say, hey, I've got up early, I've gone to the gym, I've given myself the best chance of my day, I've done all these things that I believe are going to grow the company, and I've done it consistently for a year and I've seen nothing, then I can question myself. But until that, then I wasn't going to give up. I just had to you have to keep going. And like, if you're doing all those things, like, you're going to see, even if it's a small improvement, you will see an improvement. So yeah, and then that's kind of how we got here today. Now I work with Fraser, and my day's so much different now. I'm really grateful for him and the people that we work with, who like just provide constant energy and just make my job so fun now. But being my own was yeah, I wouldn't. If anyone says they're going to start working on their own, just be ready. Just be ready for that, because your doubts will come in. Your energy may be low. You'll be on your own. There's no one to bounce off of. And so if you're sociable, it's not all fun all the time.
I can so relate to the whole not having too much time thing. Because I remember when I left my job, I got to a certain point and I was like, yeah, packed in my job. I was like, I'm just going to do my business full time. And then I had all day. And then suddenly it was taking me all day to send an email. Like, every activity was the longest drawn out thing. And I think the worst thing about having loads of time is that you've got way too much time to think. You just overthink everything. And I was exactly the same. I got into bad habits, like waking up late. And then I'd just be like eating as I was like sitting at my computer. There was no structure at all. And I think one of the most valuable things I would say to anyone is just getting that structure in your day, like you say, and the good habits. Like, even though you working out doesn't necessarily build your business, it makes you a much better person within your business and much more productive, and that it in turn builds your business. So God, I can't agree enough on getting those good like success habits and just packing your day out with some more structure, basically. So you mentioned Fraser. He's your partner, isn't he?
Yes, he is, in both business and life.
I think that's amazing. I think it's so good. But I'm sure that comes with its own challenges of working with a partner. I mean, I don't ever switch off from work, to be honest. So I can't imagine if my partner was doing the same business as me. I can't imagine how that would go. So what is it like working with your partner? Have you got any advice for someone that's thinking of going into business with their family?
Yeah, with their partner. Well, so it's a difficult one, because I think you really have to know you have to know what your strengths are as an individual and their strengths are. Me and Fraser, we're very good at completely opposite things. So he is like so good with numbers. He's on the ball with any kind of software updates or operations side of the business. That will be him. And I'm the creative, the designer, the person who goes out, finds all the fabrics, I'm the visionary for the business and where it's going. So he doesn't dip into my area and I don't dip into his, but we make an effort to really understand each other. Like, I understand the numbers. I'm not a numbers person. I don't claim to be. And like anything, like most things take me time to kind of learn, but I will work out and learn them. And I make sure I understand everything in that accountancy sheet. I make sure that I understand the accounts. I make sure I understand our margins. I make sure I understand the prices. I make sure I understand absolutely everything, because I need to know that. I need to know it, but I don't need to be the best at it, but I need to understand it. And he's very much the same. He's colorblind, so like he's not very good at distinguishing like greens and reds and colors like that. So he very much stays away from any kind of Pantone or color related issues. And he tries to chip in, and I'm just looking at him like, Fraser, like that's not even green. Like it's not going to work. So just my area, your area. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to order, but I'll make the decision there, and you can make the decision in the other end. But yeah, we are also opposite in personality, in the sense of he's so laid back. I'm not. He's incredibly calm. I'm probably someone who gets like worked up about things, a bit more anxious. Like I'm probably a bit more energetic about everything. And he's just like, he's the steady state, and he's very much needed as the steady state, because I'm aware that I can be like this, and he's just like very calm and very understanding with me. Like he's my best friend. So I'm really lucky to go to work with him every day and enjoy his company. And we're just really lucky in that sense. But I know a lot of my friends were like, if I ever worked with my partner, it would never work. And that's just knowing your traits, isn't it? It's knowing your personality, and you can get on so well as partners, but it doesn't mean you're going to be the best partners to work together. And that's just differences. But yeah, there is a difficulty with switching off. My mind is 24/7. I never really switch off, and he doesn't actually either. Like, we're very focused people, so we do need to learn to stop talking about Freerider for like 10 seconds. And maybe when we have kids, the conversation will at least be a little bit different to what it is right now. But yeah, we both have stages where we're like, God, we've really got to stop talking about Freerider. Let's talk about something else. And then like 10 minutes later, we're like, so yeah, that other, and then it will just, yeah, it falls apart again. So, but I think the thing is, we both love what we do. We find it really interesting. We love growing a business. So the conversations don't get boring. We just have to be really careful when we're with friends to like just be talking about normal stuff and not the business.
I get that. I mean, I'm the same. Like, if I get chatting to anyone, I just go straight in with business all the time. Sometimes I forget about like normal conversation. I'm like, so
yeah.
How did you scale it? How did that go? I'm like, hey, just chill, like, just ask how their holiday was or something.
Yeah.
But I think it's amazing though. Like, if you love what you do and it clearly serves your soul, and both of you absolutely love it, then that's amazing. You get to do that together, especially to do it with your best friend. So have you learned anything about yourself since starting a business?
Oh, yeah, I would say I've learned that consistency is key. And so being consistent with anything, and you can learn that in sport as well, but more so I've really learned it in business, is that you just have to keep going with things. You have to keep trying, and there'll be times when you'll doubt yourself, without a doubt. And I'm really lucky. Like, the people that I'm surrounded by are my mum is the most supportive person. We still live with her. Like, there's benefits of running your own business, and there's downsides. Like, I'm 29. I've just turned 29, and I live at home, and I've made that decision because I'm supporting a startup growing business, and every cent of my money is going back into the company. We've only just started paying ourselves. So we're just like, yeah, in terms of like having self-confidence, you have to believe, and the people around you are fundamental in that. Like, if my mum didn't support us, like, we wouldn't be as lucky and is in a fortunate situation to even try running a business at the moment. But she's, yeah, just our biggest cheerleader. She's from day one. Like, my aunt and my mum will be at shows with me, and Fraser's mums come to help at shows. And now we're like, guys, we probably need like our own age group to kind of help us at shows. And we've had to break that to them. But yeah, they're just so supportive. And yeah, I've learned that your circle, the people that you surround yourself with, are invaluable. Like, you need people around you that are interested in what you're doing, that will ask you about what you're doing, will ask you if you're okay. You need friends that you don't talk about business to. You need that support network. For me, I needed netball. I cut netball out of my life completely when I started a business, because I was like, right, now shove it all aside, this is my goal. And actually, after a year, I was like, right, reassess. I actually love playing netball. I love my teammates. I have the best time. I'm like, why am I cutting that out of my life? I can spare, I do train in Southampton, which is about an hour and a half away from me to play with my friends. So it does take some time. But that for me is just like, that is key for my happiness. And I didn't learn that when I first started. Like, I thought that, right, I'm all in, I'm 100% in, this is what I'm doing. And actually, that wasn't the best thing to do at all. So yeah, I've learned to surround myself with positive people, give myself positive energy, and understand what I need to do to make my business mind the best that it can be when I'm at work.
100%. I mean, the whole like who you spend your time with thing is a whole episode in itself, because I totally agree. It's fundamental in the way that you think, and and the happiness thing. I mean, I'm 6 years into my business now, and I learned that probably 8 months ago when I had Frankie, that actually being happy, focusing on that first, everything falls around it, doesn't it?
Yeah, so true.
So what is your top tip for someone starting out in business?
Just start, because you can think of a million reasons why you won't, but until you just start that first thing, like, get the ball rolling. It's really simple. Just do it. Get it going.
Scarlett, thank you so much for letting me interview you today. I've absolutely loved it. I've loved picking your brains. You've got so much to give. I can tell that you are just 120% committed to your business and learning and growing. And because of all the growth that you've done, you've been able to overflow and share that with us. And I'm so, so grateful for that.
I hope it's been some kind of helpful.
helpful. No, it's so helpful. I know so many people, like, regardless of what industry you're in. I mean, I'm in network marketing, you're in products. There's so many people in different industries, but ultimately business is business. And I think the mindset side of whatever industry you're in is the same. And, that we it's so good to hear that you've gone through those same experiences and you've had those same thoughts of like, oh God, can I keep doing this? Or, just, I think you've added so much value, and I'm so grateful for you taking the time to do it. So where can people find you? If people want to give you a total stalk on social media, where will they find you?
Well, they can find the business at Freerider Freerider.co on Instagram, or me at Scarlett Rebecca Williams. I haven't actually got an open profile yet, but I have decided to make it open. So yeah, I'm going to be sharing some more business insights on there. So yeah, that's where you can find me. I actually just thought of one extra thing on the kind of like role model side. In terms of business, I think if anybody hasn't heard of, his name is Matthew Moulding, and he's the CEO of the Hut Group. Like, they're doing some incredible stuff right now. So if you're interested in the business side of needing a role model, I would check him out and what the Hut Group is doing, because yeah, in terms of e-commerce aspiration, that is top tip.
I love that. I'm definitely going to check him out. Thank you so much. I'm so excited for the announcement of what's coming this summer. I'm literally going to be all over it. Anything you put out.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate it, and I wish you so much success with everything that you're doing. You are just a joy to talk to, and yeah, I wish you loads of success. You're amazing.
Oh, thanks, Carly, and same to you. Big things coming your way, I'm sure.
Thank you, babes.